4. You roll, mate. Sorry, roll 2. This time around I found a little guy who's a monster on the charts, and his name is Micheal Jackson. Michael, welcome to Countdown.
Thank you.
Now tell me, what do you think is the success of the Jacksons, yourself and the Jacksons?
I would say probably togetherness, or just enjoying our work a lot. Putting a lot of love into it, all our efforts.
You've sprung up a bit since I saw you, Mark.
Yeah. Everybody has.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How have you taken it over the last 5 years? I mean,
success?
Yeah. Has it affected you much?
In a joyful way, in a rejoicing way, because I love it. You have to like it to be in it this long.
Yeah.
Or you go crazy. It's so much. We've been traveling the world and making records and just having a great time.
Is that togetherness there as far as the
Yes, it is. It is. A lot of togetherness. Very important.
Over in Australia, we've seen you on many of the big shows.
Oh, yeah.
And your little sister's been on a few.
Oh, yeah.
She's a funky little sister.
She is
She's
funky.
amazing. But, I mean, the demand on you has been amazing, sort of, as far as, like, you've had to go into an adult world, more or less. I mean, did you find that hard to cope with, Michael?
You mean as far as our music?
Yeah, and the demand as far as you're having to go on all these shows and sort of really compete against the adults as far as hosting things and things like that.
No, it's part of the business, and it comes at you all the time. It's up to you whether you want to do or not. So we do whatever we can.
When you were out in Australia, and I remember we actually presented you with the footy, you at that stage were sort of groaning a little because you had a few lectures to do, you had to keep up with your schoolwork and things like that. Do you regret having to keep up with your schoolwork?
No, I enjoy it. I love to read and learn and all that stuff.
Yeah. This current single is becoming a huge hit in the States, and no doubt will be a hit in Australia, called Going Places. I think the one thing over the past 5 years since I've seen you, Micheal Jackson's certainly gone places.
Thank
we
you.
hope that you and your family come down to Australia soon.
Oh, we love Australia.
Okay, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Molly Meldrum joins us now. Molly, what do you remember about that day?
Well, it was preceding. We're in New York, and I was there to do a lot of Countdown interviews. And Quincy Jones, who was a friend of mine, had played me a couple of tracks of this forthcoming album, right? So I contacted CBS Epic at the time, which was now Sony, and said, you know, I'd like to do this interview with Micheal Jackson. I know he's in town doing The Wiz. And they more or less said, well, I wouldn't bother about that. I wouldn't have it as a priority because he's not with the Jacksons and it may not work, you know. So anyway, they agreed to do it. And it was very cold, very, very cold in New York. And it was the last interview for the day. It was supposed to be around about 6 o'clock. We were running really quite late. And it was blizzardly cold. And I said to Grant Rule, my producer at the time, I said, he's not going to be there, you know. And we pulled up, and there huddled in the corner by himself, no record people, no nothing, was Micheal Jackson, you know.
He had so much innocence back then.
Absolutely. The thing that actually surprised me, though, and I remember this initially, when he finally came out of the corner and then went into the thing, where you'd always thought of little Micheal Jackson from the Jackson 5, he was 19 at the time by now, and he was tall, you know, which sort of threw me, you know. But he still had that wonderful thing where he giggles in that, and he talks about his sister and that. And yeah,
and also about growing up. I mean, your question was so pointed about growing up in an adult world.
Yeah,
it's hard to imagine that that's the same.
Absolutely.
19-year-old that we've seen in the last few years with all the child abuse accusations.
Well, absolutely. I mean, but the thing is that if you looked back then, and then that was prior to Off the Wall happened, and that he became a major star. When Thriller happened, then it was like in Micheal Jackson's stratosphere, you know. But Jermaine, his brother, who's a great friend of mine, would often tell me where, back when he was growing up, where the rest of the boys would go out and play basketball, whatever, Joe, his father, would insist Michael had to stay inside, rehearse, and also just watching television. And he was watching like The Partridge Family, My Three Sons, Leave It to Beaver. And at that stage, you know, back then, there were no Afro-American actors in any of those sitcoms. So he started thinking the only way he would make it in the world was to be white, you know. So he had no childhood and thinking those sort of things, you know.
No childhood. The family's invited you to the funeral, I believe.
Yeah, I've been asked to go over, yes.
I hope it all goes well, Molly.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Take care, mate.